Chapter 3875. With Bailey Hongzhuang's voice falling, He Yunjun and Chu Yunshang were both stunned. They didn't expect that Bailey Hongzhuang would make such a condition. He Yunjuan's eyes flashed with a touch of hesitation, and he couldn't help but turn to Niu Zhuang, who was fighting with Di Beichen not far away. If Niu Zhuang could defeat Di Beichen, then they might still have a chance. But if Niu Zhuang couldn't win, then everything would be decided by Bailey Hongzhuang and others. Judging from the posture of Bailey Hongzhuang and others, it was obvious that they wouldn't stop until they killed Chu Yunyao. If he didn't agree, not only would Chu Yunyao die, but they would also have to accompany Chu Yunyao to die here. This was obviously what he didn't want to see. Dying for Chu Yunyao was definitely something he couldn't accept. However, at present, they still had a glimmer of hope. If Niu Zhuang could defeat Di Beichen, then they could still turn defeat into victory and not fall into such a situation. After seeing He Yunjuan's hesitation, Chu Yunshang's face suddenly became ugly. Yunjun Wei. He Yunjun turned his head and glanced at Chu Yunshang. Yunshang, if it really comes to that point. Although he didn't finish his words, He Yunjuan's attitude had already made everyone understand. If it really came to that point, then he would definitely give up Chu Yunyao. It was a stupid move to give up his life for such a woman. Listening to He Yunjuan's words, Chu Yunshang couldn't help but take 2 steps back, and her pretty face turned pale. Even though Chu Yunyao had always been very excessive, she was still her sister. She had never thought that there would be such a day. After Chu Yunyao heard He Yunjun say such words, her face suddenly filled with disbelief. He Yunjun, you really dare to do this to me? He Yunjun glanced at Chu Yunyao and didn't say anything. He couldn't help but turn to Niu Zhuang. If Niu Zhuang could win, he didn't want to do this. After all, he knew Chu Yunyao's position in Chu Yunshang's heart. After exchanging blows with Di Beichen, Niu Zhuang was shocked to discover that Di Beichen's strength was extremely powerful. Compared to him who was stuck at the 2nd level of astral radiance, Di Beichen was not the slightest bit weaker. On the contrary, Di Beichen was even stronger. You are no match for me. Di Beichen's eyes were calm and indifferent after the first strike. Niu Zhuang was slightly taken aback. He looked at Di Beichen in surprise. Although I can't defeat you now, you are too confident. I haven't used my full strength yet. You should be aware of that, Di Beichen said slowly. Hearing this, Niu Zhuang took a deep look at Di Beichen. After thinking for a moment, a smile appeared on his face. Sure enough, heroes come from the young. I really am no match for you. He was not a stupid person, and immediately understood the meaning of Di Beichen's words. Thinking about it, Di Beichen had already seen that he had used his full strength just now. On the contrary, Di Beichen had only used a part of his strength. Therefore, even if it was just a fight, he already knew the final result. After seeing Niu Zhuang admit that he was not as good as Di Beichen, everyone present showed a look of astonishment. My God, did I hear it wrong? Niu Zhuang actually admitted that he is not a match for Di Beichen in public? You didn't hear it wrong, because I heard it too. Chapter 3876. One after another, astonished gazes fell on Di Beichen. Everyone was in disbelief. Di Beichen's breakthrough to the Starlight Realm was already very surprising. Now even Niu Zhuang was no match for him. This meant that no one below the 2nd level of the Starlight Realm could be a match for Di Beichen. This was really not an ordinary level of strength. Everyone was thinking about it. In the future, they definitely could not offend Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. With their strength, if they offended them, they would really be asking for trouble. Junior brother Di, I really admire you. Niu Zhuang looked at Di Beichen with eyes full of admiration. All along, there were very few cultivators who could make him admire Di Beichen. But this Di Beichen was one of them. To be able to have such strength at such a young age was really admirable. Moreover, during the fight Di Beichen clearly had the opportunity to injure him, but did not directly injure him. He had already accepted this kindness. Just this magnanimity alone was not easy. If it was an ordinary cultivator, they would definitely not be merciful in this situation. However, Di Beichen's actions were undoubtedly to preserve his face. If he still did not understand, then he would be too stupid. Today let's not fight, no concord. How about we be friends from now on? Niu Zhuang's face revealed a smile as he said. He and He Yunjun were only acquaintances, and did not have a deep friendship. However, he really thought highly of Di Beichen and the others. Moreover, Bailey Hongzhuang was such a famous doctor. In fact, he did not want to deal with them at first. However, He Yunjun deliberately asked for his help, and the conditions she offered were very good. Therefore he came to take a look. After Niu Zhuang said these words, everyone's eyes gathered on him. Wasn't this development a little too dramatic? Niu Zhuang was the helper invited by He Yunjun. Now he actually appreciated Di Beichen, and wanted to be friends with Di Beichen. In this way, didn't it mean that Niu Zhuang was bought over by them? Seeing Niu Zhuang say such words, Di Beichen's eyes quietly flashed with a hint of surprise. Then he chuckled and nodded, that's great. He thought that with Niu Zhuang's status in the Penglai Inner Palace, he would definitely not admit defeat easily. However, he did not expect that he would directly admit that he was not his opponent. Moreover, he did not show any displeasure. He even proposed to be friends with him. Recalling what Niu Zhuang and Chu Yuniao had said before, he knew that Niu Zhuang was a person who spoke his mind and did not beat around the bush. Therefore, when he said that he wanted to be friends with him, it must be from the bottom of his heart, and he did not have any other thoughts. In this inner palace, he did not want to offend too many opponents. If he could make some friends, it would be great. After all, they would have to train in the future. More friends would be more help. If they had more enemies, it would be very troublesome to deal with them in the future. What's more, cultivators above the Starry Sky realm were very rare. Their status in the inner palace was very important. If they killed the Starry Sky realm cultivators, it would be a great loss to the Penglai Palace. Presumably, Master Long and the others did not want to see it. If it was an enemy, it would be fine. However, since this was a conflict that could be resolved, it was better to resolve it. It would be good for them. Listening to Di Beichen's words, Niu Zhuang also laughed heartily. Haha, that's great. Chapter 3877. The development of this matter is really beyond my expectations. I didn't expect Beichen to have such an ability to make Niu Zhuang appreciate him so much. There is no need to fight. Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but look at Wen Xiren beside her. Her pretty face was full of helplessness and emotion. It could be considered the most dramatic fight since they came to Penglai Palace. Xiren nodded, his eyes shining brightly. This Niu Zhuang seems to be reckless, but he is very smart. He should be very clear that he is not Beichen's opponent. In such a case, if he continues to fight head-on, it will not do him any good. However, his appreciation for Beichen should also be real. It can be said that no discord, no friendship. It is good for us to make a friend. Look, Chu Yunyao's face is as black as the bottom of a pot. Ren Zimei suddenly chuckled. Shangguan Yingying and others couldn't help but look at Chu Yunyao. They saw that Chu Yunyao's face was gloomy and no longer had the previous arrogance. Her eyes flashed with a strong fear. It seemed that it was hard to imagine what would happen next. After seeing that Niu Zhuang had become friends with Di Beichen, He Yunjun couldn't help but be stunned. This result was simply a dramatic reversal. After Bailey Hongzhuang noticed this scene, the smile on her lips widened a little. She retracted her gaze and looked at He Yunjun. Have you thought about it? He Yunjun thought for a moment, and a hint of hesitation flashed in his eyes. He looked at Chu Yunshang and said, Yunshang, let's agree. There was a hint of helplessness in his low voice. He never cared about Chu Yunyao. The only thing he cared about was Chu Yunshang's thoughts. He Yunjun, you are too much. Chu Yunyao's face showed a strong sense of indignation. Her eyes were bloodshot, and she looked at He Yunjun with hatred. How can you do this? Facing the angry Chu Yunyao, He Yunjun didn't care at all. Over the years, you have caused a lot of trouble. I have helped you clean up the mess every time. I have already done my best. You provoked an opponent that you shouldn't have provoked, and suffered the consequences of your own actions. Don't tell me you want me to die with you? He Yunjuan's eyes were full of coldness. Originally, he was still a little worried about Chu Yunyao. But after Chu Yunyao said those words to him, he couldn't be bothered to pay attention to it. At this moment, she didn't want to care about Chu Yunyao's life or death. You. Chu Yunyao looked at He Yunjun angrily. After opening her mouth to say this word, she really didn't know what to say. She understood that no matter how good a friend was, they would reveal their selfish side in this kind of life and death situation. However, she still found it hard to accept how He Yunjun treated her. Sister, let's ignore him. He's not sincere to you at all. Chu Yunyao looked at Chu Yunshang. Yunshang, haven't you done enough for her all these years? She never knew how to be grateful. She only knew how to take things from you. What's the use of having such a sister? I'm the only one who knows about your hardships. Why don't you solve this problem now? Your life will be much easier in the future. He Yunjun looked at Chu Yunshang. He really liked Chu Yunshang, and did not want Chu Yunshang to be buried with Chu Yunyao. Chapter 3878. He Yunjun, that's enough. Chu Yunyao shouted, holding Chu Yunshang tightly with both hands. Sister, don't listen to his nonsense. Think of a way. I don't want to die. Chu Yunyao looked at Chu Yunshang nervously. She didn't expect things to turn out like this. Now she had no choice but to pin all her hopes on Chu Yunshang. Bailey Hongzhuang obviously wanted to take her life. She didn't want to die like this today. At this moment she finally knew fear. Chu Yunshang looked at Chu Yunyao beside her with a complicated expression. She never thought that one day she would have to make such a choice. He Yunjun had no other way, so he naturally didn't need to say more. If you don't agree, he can only die here with Chu Yunyao. If you agree, Chu Yunyao will also die. But it's also hard for him to bear watching his sister die in front of him. Yunshang, at this time, she still wants you to die with her. Haven't you seen through her yet? He Yunjun said helplessly. The cultivators present all spoke out together. Chu Yunshang really has some feelings for her sister. But Chu Yunyao obviously doesn't have such an idea. Chu Yunyao is obviously a dead end. At this time, she still wants to use Chu Yunshang as a cushion. This sister is really amazing. With Chu Yunyao's temperament, it's not surprising that she would do such a thing. Haven't we seen it before? Looking at this scene, Chu Yunyao had become a dead person in the hearts of everyone. If no other heavyweight appeared, Chu Yunyao's ending today would definitely not be changed. When Chu Yunyao saw the hesitation on Chu Yunshang's face, she couldn't help but take 2 steps back. Her face was pale and weak, and her words should be trembling. Sister, are you really going to watch me die like this? Chu Yunshang looked helpless. Yu Yunyao, I won't watch you die like this. Then think of a way. Chu Yunyao quickly said. As matters stand, there's nothing I can do. Chu Yunshang spread out her hands. With her current strength, she was no match for Bailey Hongzhuang and others. She couldn't even beat Bailey Hongzhuang, let alone Bewitching. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Chu Yunshang and the others. It seems that you have made your decision. At this time, He Yunjun hurriedly said, We promise you to leave Chu Yunyao behind. As He Yunjun's voice fell, Chu Yunyao couldn't help but say angrily, He Yunjun, it's fine if you're like this, but why are you bringing my sister along? Things have already come to this point. Since you are definitely going to die, why ask your sister to bring you along? Why don't you give your sister a way out? With that, He Yunjun directly held Chu Yunshang's hand. His face was firm, and his voice was steady and powerful. Yunshang, don't think about it. Things have come to this point. You can't change the outcome. It's better to leave your life and live well. Hearing this, Chu Yunshang was very helpless. She looked at herself and Bailey Hongzhuang and others. She didn't speak, but she also acquiesced. Chapter 3879. In the face of Chu Yunyao's questioning, Chu Yunshang couldn't bear it. She never thought that there would be such a day, let alone answer Chu Yunyao's words. Thinking of this, Chu Yunshang wanted to approach Chu Yunyao, but was held tightly by He Yunjun. She looked at He Yunjun, only to see the latter shaking her head at her. Seeing this, even if Chu Yunshang couldn't bear it in her heart, she could only helplessly lower her head. Chu Yunyao also noticed He Yunjun's actions, and the hatred in her eyes grew stronger. She didn't expect that at this time, Chu Yunshang and others not only didn't help her, but also chose to stand by. This situation made her feel as if she had fallen into an ice cellar, and there was an unspeakable fear in her heart. She didn't want to die. After seeing He Yunjun's choice, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile also rose a little. It seems that you have made a choice. He Yunjun bowed to Bailey Hongzhuang. Junior sister Bailey Hongzhuang, we won't care about Chu Yunyao's affairs anymore. You can spare us, and we are grateful for your magnanimity. Even though he knew that Bailey Hongzhuang did this just to better ridicule Chu Yunyao and let Chu Yunyao experience the feeling of being betrayed. No matter what, Bailey Hongzhuang still let them go. Otherwise, as long as Bailey Hongzhuang wanted them to die, they would have no way to get away. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at He Yunjun with a little surprise. She had always thought that He Yunjun was Chu Yunshang's lover, and she didn't know anything else. After seeing He Yunjun today, she didn't have a good impression of him. After all, they were all enemies. However, this person would thank her after losing face, which was beyond her expectation. It seemed that this person was also a person who could endure humiliation. However, anyone who possessed such a trait would have great achievements. It was no wonder that they were able to reach their current level. Senior apprentice brother He, you're being too courteous. No discord, no concord. There's no deep hatred between us. Bailey Hongzhuang looked indifferent. Every injustice had its perpetrator, and every debt its debtor. As long as He Yunjun did not interfere in their matters, she would not care. What's more, judging from this situation, He Yunjun might be very grateful to him for helping to solve Chu Yunyao's problem. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's answer, He Yunjun also breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang, she couldn't help but feel grateful and appreciative. He did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be so magnanimous. However, he was also worried that Bailey Hongzhuang would resent them for interfering in this matter. After all, Bailey Hongzhuang's group was too strong. If the other party held a grudge against them, then they would only have a dead end. It hadn't been long since he broke through to the first order, and there was still a long way to go to the second order. It was impossible to defeat Bewitching in a short period of time. However, now that Bailey Hongzhuang really intended to let them go, they didn't have to worry. Bailey Hongzhuang turned her head to look at Shengguan Yingying behind her. Yingying, this Chu Yunyao is yours to deal with. Hearing this, a smile appeared on Shengguan Yingying's face. She immediately took a step forward with a playful look on her face. I have full authority to deal with her. Chapter 3880. Xiren also looked at Shengguan Yingying dotingly. Shengguan Yingying had been treated like that by Chu Yunyao before. This time, they came to let Shengguan Yingying vent her anger. Now that he saw Chu Yunyao's betrayal, when Xiren felt that it was still not enough. This woman had asked for it. Shengguan Yingying walked to Chu Yunyao with a smile. Looking at the latter's face, which was as black as the bottom of a pot, she chuckled and said, Chu Yunyao, when you kidnapped me last time, you didn't expect that there would be a day like this, did you? Shengguan Yingying, don't be complacent. I should have killed you directly at that time. Chu Yunyao's eyes were gloomy. It was really a mistake that led to everlasting regret. At that time, Shengguan Yingying was just a little grasshopper that she could pinch to death at will. Now she could control her life and death. She hated it very much. If she had known it, she should have been more decisive. Why should she worry about Master Long's opinion? It was best to rush over and kill Shengguan Yingying directly. It's a pity that you didn't do it at that time. It's useless to say this now. Shengguan Yingying raised her eyebrows and said with a smile, now that you have fallen into my hands, there is only one way out. I won't make the same mistake as you. With that, Shengguan Yingying's eyes flashed with a fierce light. Since she was born, she had never been treated like that. Now thinking of all the torture that Chu Yunyao had done to her at that time, she also gnashed her teeth. Slap! Shengguan Yingying slapped Chu Yunyao's face loudly. She deeply remembered that every time she said a word, Chu Yunyao would slap her in the face. At that time, she secretly swore that as long as she was still alive, she would definitely return this to Chu Yunyao in double. You! Suddenly slapped by Shengguan Yingying, Chu Yunyao couldn't help glaring at her. However, as soon as she said a word, she was stared back by Bailey Hongzhuang. Now she was surrounded by Bailey Hongzhuang and others. There was no possibility of leaving. If she dared to do anything, she would die immediately. When she thought of this, she could only force herself to hold it in. Her mind was constantly thinking of a way to leave. Pa! Shengguan Yingying mercilessly slapped her again. Chu Yunyao, you must have felt like this when you slapped me, right? Shangguan Yingying's pitch-black eyes flashed with a cold light. Her voice was cold and emotionless. Now I will return everything to you, so that you can properly experience this feeling. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in everyone's line of sight. Seeing this person appear, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but raise their eyebrows. Speaking of which, the reason why this matter had become like this was all because of this person. Duan Huali. When Chu Yunyao saw Duan Huali appear, her eyes instantly lit up with joy. He Yunjun and the others also looked at Duan Huali. The reason why Chu Yunyao would find trouble with Bailey Hongzhuang was entirely because of him. Duan Huali just heard that there was a conflict between Bailey Hongzhuang and Chu Yunyao, so he wanted to come and have a look. After all, he was also at the scene when there was a conflict in the resource hall last time. It was not until he arrived that he realized that this conflict had erupted so fiercely that it was completely beyond his imagination. Chapter 3881. Hearing this, Duan Huali looked at Chu Yunyao and saw that Chu Yunyao no longer had her usual arrogant appearance. Her face was completely swollen like a pig's head, and blood was still flowing from the corners of her lips. She couldn't even speak clearly. On the other side, He Yunjun was holding Chu Yunshang's hand. Obviously, she ignored Chu Yunyao's appearance, which made him a little unbelievable. According to his understanding, Chu Yunshang had always been very good to Chu Yunyao. If not, she would not have made such a choice at the beginning. But now she ignored Chu Yunyao. Could it be that after such a long time, she finally figured it out? Chu Yunyao climbed to Duan Huali's side and pulled Duan Huali's trousers tightly with both hands. Duan Huali, you must save me. They don't care about me. If you don't save me, I will die today. Duan Huali frowned. Since the last time he heard that Bailey Hongzhuang and others had a conflict with Chu Yunyao before leaving Penglai Palace, he knew that Chu Yunyao must have gone to trouble Bailey Hongzhuang and others. Over the years, Chu Yunyao had done this kind of thing a lot. Fortunately, Bailey Hongzhuang was fine, so he didn't take it to heart. It was just that he didn't expect that Bailey Hongzhuang and some people would be so powerful. As soon as they came back, they tortured Chu Yunyao to such a situation. It was reasonable to say that He Yunjuan's strength had already reached the first stage of star aura. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others should not be his opponents at all. Was it possible that He Yunjun hated Chu Yunyao, so he was unwilling to help? However, if this was the case, Chu Yunshang would not ignore Chu Yunyao. For a time, Duan Huali's mood was also very complicated. He couldn't understand the situation in front of him. Bailey Hongzhuang and others looked at Duan Huali coldly. They didn't have a good impression of this person. In the end, the reason why Shangguan Yingying was treated like this was entirely because of Duan Huali. Beichen's eyes turned cold when he saw Duan Huali. He clearly remembered how Duan Huali had provoked him when he had tried to attract Bailey Hongzhuang's attention. He remembered clearly how Duan Huali had looked down on him. Showing such an expression in front of his wife was already a great insult to him. Back then, because he wasn't strong enough, he could only endure it for the time being. But now, everything was different from back then. Yunshang you? Duan Huali couldn't help but ask. However, before Chu Yunshang could speak, He Yunjuan's voice rang out first. Junior brother Duan, Yunshang isn't that familiar with you. You should call her junior sister Chu. Hearing this, Duan Huali was stunned and looked a little embarrassed. Duan Huali, you don't have to pay attention to them. He Yunjun is completely a despicable and shameless villain. He actually persuaded my sister to leave me alone. My sister is also obsessed and actually agreed to him. Chu Yunyao said, and looked at Chu Yunshang fiercely. Chu Yunshang, from today onwards, we are no longer friends. From now on, you are no longer my sister. Yunyao. Chu Yunshang's expression was complicated, and her mind was also full of thoughts. She did not know if Duan Huali would join them. Would it be possible to defeat Bailey Hongzhuang and the others? Chapter 3882. Although Duan Huali didn't have a complete understanding of this matter, he had a rough idea. With Chu Yunshang's temperament, she would not ignore Chu Yunyao unless she had no choice. In this way there was only one explanation. Junior sister Bailey, I don't know if you can spare Chu Yunyao this time for my sake? Duan Huali couldn't help but ask. Listening to Duan Huali's words, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips evoked a playful arc, and she sneered. Why should I give you face? As soon as this remark came out, Duan Huali couldn't help but be stunned, and his expression was a little embarrassed. Bailey Hongzhuang's rhetorical question was tantamount to giving him face. For the sake of my previous friendship with you, you should be magnanimous and let her go this time. Duan Huali continued. When Chu Yunshang saw that Duan Huali was willing to speak for her at this time, she couldn't help but be moved, and her eyes became more and more affectionate. She knew that Duan Huali couldn't have no feelings for her at all. That's where you're wrong. We've never been friends before. Bailey Hongzhuang stretched out a finger and shook it. This is all because of you. If it weren't for you, how could Chu Yunyao take Yingying away? Yingying wouldn't be tortured by Chu Yunyao. Now you want me to let Chu Yunyao go? Instead of pleading for Chu Yunyao now, you might as well think about how to plead for yourself. Duan Huali's face suddenly became ugly. Being refuted by Bailey Hongzhuang again and again, he naturally lost face. What? Does junior sister Bailey want to do something to me? At this moment, Di Beichen stood in front of Bailey Hongzhuang and looked at Duan Huali coldly. I'm the one who wants to hurt you. Hearing Di Beichen's words, Duan Huali was slightly stunned. Then he chuckled and said, Junior brother Di seems to have a lot of opinions about me. You're wrong, Di Beichen said slowly. Oh. Duan Huali was a little surprised. Does junior brother Di not have anything against me? No. Di Beichen's eyes were cold. I don't have a problem with you. I want to kill you. Di Beichen's lips curled into a cold arc as he looked at Duan Huali with a smile that was not a smile. Everyone wanted to kill Chu Yunyao as soon as they came back. And for him, the one he wanted to kill the most was Duan Huali. This guy dared to flirt with his most beloved woman in front of him. He had already vowed to kill this guy. As soon as these words came out, everyone sighed, and their faces were filled with surprise. Di Beichen is too domineering. He said that he wanted to kill Duan Huali as soon as he opened his mouth. It's really surprising. In fact, this is not surprising. As early as a few months ago, Di Beichen said at the transmission array that he would be rude to Duan Huali. Now this is also expected. Duan Huali is a womanizer. Bailey Hongzhuang is so beautiful. It's impossible for Duan Huali not to have any thoughts about her. Didn't this offend Di Beichen? After hearing these words, Chu Yunyao and Chu Yunshang's faces suddenly changed a little. Duan Huali was stunned for a moment. After reacting, he chuckled and said, Junior brother Di, your tone is a little too big. Whether it's big or not, let's see. Chapter 3883. He originally wanted to deal with Duan Huali after dealing with Chu Yunyao. Since Duan Huali was already here, he might as well deal with him together and save himself the trouble of looking for him in the future. When Duan Huali discovered that Di Beichen had already reached the second order of star magnate, his face could not help but flash with a thick shock. Suddenly, he looked at Chu Yunshang with a hint of understanding. It turned out that it was not that he Yunjun was unwilling to save Chu Yunyao, but that he was not Di Beichen's opponent and could not help. Di Beichen's fist rapidly enlarged in Duan Huali's eyes, mixed with a fierce chi, directly blasting the air and attacking him. Duan Huali understood that Di Beichen was not joking. He really wanted to take his life. However, his movements were not fast. When Di Beichen's fist was about to reach him, he also met it with a punch. Bang! The chi scattered. Duan Huali's face changed a little, and then his figure took 2 steps back. According to his judgment, Di Beichen had just broken through the second order of star magnate. He should not be his opponent, so he dealt with it very calmly. However, he did not expect Di Beichen's punch to be able to force him to retreat. How could this be? A storm raged in Duan Huali's heart. This level of strength was actually not the slightest bit weaker than his. Thinking back to the beginning, Di Beichen was just a grasshopper that could be pinched to death at will in his eyes. It was just that he wanted to get Bailey Hongzhuang's heart, so he did not plan to make a move himself. What's more, Bailey Hongzhuang and others were deeply valued by Master Long. He was also unwilling to offend Master Long. It was a pity that the people he sent did not succeed. Instead, it gave Bewitching a chance to grow. Your strength. How did it become so strong? Looking at Duan Huali's surprised expression, Bewitching ignored it. Why should I tell you? As soon as he finished speaking, Bewitching launched another attack. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze fell on the two people who were fighting. She understood Bewitching's hatred for Duan Huali. Previously, she had been asking Bewitching to endure. Now she finally had the chance to take revenge. Revenge was a dish best served cold. Fortunately, they did not have to wait for too long. Now they could finally hold their heads high. Bang bang bang. The first exchange between Bewitching and Duan Huali was the most powerful collision yet. The terrifying killing intent that leaked out from Bewitching's body clearly indicated that he wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to take Duan Huali's life. She continued to explode. The two people's movements were as fast as lightning. As they entangled with each other, the crowd was dazzled. It seems that junior brother D wants to take revenge this time. Chu Jinfeng raised his eyebrows slightly, a look of interest flashing in his eyes. As for the grievances between Bewitching and Duan Huali, it could be said that he was very clear about it. Who let Duan Huali, this guy, take liberties with other people's wives? Any man with a bit of backbone would not be able to swallow this. I admire men like junior brother D. Ren Zimei's eyes flashed with joy. Duan Huali should be taught a lesson. Ren Ziheng, between junior brother D and Duan Huali, who do you think has a higher chance of winning? Chu Jinfeng could not help but ask. Although Bewitching had broken through to level 2, Duan Huali was also a very famous expert. Chapter 3884. Bewitching will definitely win. At this moment, a cold but firm voice rang out. Ren Ziheng and the others couldn't help but look at the source of the voice, only to find that it was Mo Yunjue not far away. The three of them couldn't help but look at each other. Although today was the first time they met Mo Yunjue, they could feel that his strength was very tyrannical, and he was extremely cold. His whole body exuded a kind of aura that didn't allow strangers to approach him. Therefore, even if they were quite familiar with Bewitching and the others, there was a certain distance between them and Mo Yunjue. Junior brother Mo, how can you be so sure? Chu Jinfeng thought for a moment and asked. At the same time, he wanted to test whether Mo Yunjue was an extremely difficult person to get along with. Mo Yunjue's gaze fell on Bewitching in front of him, and slowly said, if this Duan Huali's strength is higher than Bewitching's, then there may be a chance of winning. But since their cultivation is the same, Duan Huali is definitely not Bewitching's opponent. As soon as these words came out, Ren Ziheng and the others were surprised. Mo Yunjue's words were very domineering, as if he had extreme confidence in Bewitching's strength. Xiren also couldn't help but look at Mo Yunjue. It seemed that Bewitching was right. Although Mo Yunjue and he were originally rivals, Mo Yunjue was a very magnanimous gentleman, not a sinister villain. He Yunjun, Chu Yunshang, and Chu Yunyao's eyes all focused on Duan Huali, but the three of them had different thoughts. Because of the past between Duan Huali and Chu Yunshang, He Yunjun didn't have any good impression of Duan Huali. Although they didn't fight on normal days, they still looked at each other with disgust. Moreover, this matter was entirely caused by Duan Huali, and he loathed this person's style to a certain extent. Chu Yunyao looked at Duan Huali with a face full of hope. Her whole mental appearance had become completely different from before. Now in her eyes, Duan Huali was a hero who had come to save her. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Shengguan Yingying and said, Yingying, Bewitching will take care of Duan Huali. You don't have to worry. You just need to vent your anger. Duan Huali was only a level 2 Astral Radiance cultivator. With their current strength, Duan Huali could not do anything. As long as Bewitching made a move, Duan Huali would have no chance of winning. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Shengguan Yingying smiled and nodded. She naturally understood Bewitching's strength. Okay. Chu Yunyao saw that Shengguan Yingying wanted to attack her again, and quickly said, Shengguan Yingying, Duan Huali has come to save me. If you dare to attack me again, I won't let you go. In your dreams, Shengguan Yingying kicked Chu Yunyao directly. Do you still want to leave? That's impossible. Speaking of this, Shangguan Yingying suddenly chuckled. Chu Yunyao, don't say that I'm not good enough for you. Haven't you always liked Duan Huali? Today, I'll let you both go to the Yellow Springs. When you go to the underworld, you can be companions. This can be considered as fulfilling one of your wishes. You. Chu Yunyao's eyes burned with anger, and the yuan energy in her body gushed out instantly. Even if I want to die, I will never let you live. Chapter 3885. Shangguan Yingying obviously didn't expect that Chu Yunyao would suddenly fight back, and couldn't react for a moment. Be careful, when Xiren hurriedly called out, and immediately wanted to rush to Shangguan Yingying's side. Unfortunately, there was a certain distance between them, and it was too late for him to do so. Chu Yunyao's eyes flashed with excitement and pride. Although she was not Bailey Hongzhuang's opponent now, as long as she killed Shangguan Yingying, Bailey Hongzhuang, and the others would definitely be in incomparable pain. Then she would be able to vent her anger. However, just as Chu Yunyao's attack was about to land on Shangguan Yingying, Bailey Hongzhuang's fist directly hit Chu Yunyao's body. Bang! With a sound, Chu Yunyao's figure flew out and landed heavily on the ground, stirring up a cloud of dust. Chu Yunyao fell to the ground. Just as she wanted to get up, she spat out a mouthful of blood. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't show any mercy in that palm strike just now. Chu Yunyao was naturally seriously injured by the full strength of a first-rank starlight. Yingying, are you okay? Bailey Hongzhuang asked with concern. Shangguan Yingying shook her head. You acted in time. I'm fine. When Xiren also ran to Shangguan Yingying's side, after seeing that Shangguan Yingying was safe, he was completely relieved. Bailey Hongzhuang turned her gaze to Chu Yunyao and slowly walked to her side. Chu Yunyao, I didn't expect you to have the courage to fight back. Chu Yunyao smiled coldly, her lips and teeth full of blood. You acted quickly just now, otherwise I would have killed Shangguan Yingying. Looking at Chu Yunyao's proud appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with coldness. Chu Yunyao, looking at your proud appearance, I really feel that it's a bit of an eyesore. Hee. Chu Yunyao chuckled. Bailey Hongzhuang, everything is not over yet. You don't have to make a conclusion too early. Maybe the one who dies in the end is you, not me. Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged. Unfortunately, I won't give you that chance. As soon as these words came out, Chu Yunyao could not help but be stunned. Before she could react, Bailey Hongzhuang punched her dantian. Bang! Another voice sounded. Then, everyone was shocked to find that Chu Yunyao's entire body suddenly deflated like a balloon. Chu Yunyao's face suddenly showed an extremely painful expression. She couldn't control her body and knelt down directly. Her face became extremely pale, and cold sweat oozed out uncontrollably. She clutched her dantian in agony and stared at Bailey Hongzhuang in disbelief. You actually destroyed my cultivation? I asked you to be obedient. If you don't want to, then I can only destroy your cultivation to make you obedient. Bailey Hongzhuang's hands were around her chest, and her delicate face was full of indifference. Yunyao. Chu Yunshang couldn't help but call out after seeing that Chu Yunyao's cultivation had been destroyed. However, Chu Yunyao just glanced at her coldly. I've become like this now. Are you happy? The cultivators present couldn't help but gasp when they saw that Bailey Hongzhuang had destroyed Chu Yunyao's cultivation. Chapter 3886. Chu Yunyao's face was ashen, and her eyes were filled with tears. Once she lost her cultivation, she would become a complete waste. For so many years, she had always been proud of her cultivation. She had never thought that one day her cultivation would be destroyed. Instead of that, she really felt that it was better to die like this. What was the point of living for a waste? For Chu Yunyao's strong despair, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were extremely cold. You can't live if you want to. If Chu Yunyao hadn't caused trouble herself, how could she have fallen to this point? Since she dared to do such a thing at the beginning, she should be prepared to bear all this now. Yingying, she can't hurt you anymore. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. Shangguan Yingying was also surprised that Bailey Hongzhuang acted so neatly. However, Chu Yunyao had humiliated her many times before because she was strong enough. Now that she had lost her cultivation, she felt very happy. Unrighteous deeds are doomed to destruction. Serves you right for ending up like this. Shangguan Yingying looked at Chu Yunyao coldly. If it hadn't been for Bailey Hongzhuang's speed, she might have been seriously injured by Chu Yunyao now. Thinking of this, she felt a burst of displeasure, and immediately stepped on Chu Yunyao's body again. Puff! Chu Yunyao spat out another mouthful of blood. Her injury was very serious. In addition, Bailey Hongzhuang destroyed her cultivation. Her body had already been weak to a certain extent. At this moment, she was only kicked by Shangguan Yingying, but she couldn't bear it. You're arrogant. Shangguan Yingying's eyes were cold. Let's see how you can be arrogant now. After seeing Chu Yunyao being humiliated like this, Chu Yunshang's eyes flashed with a strong unbearable light. She couldn't help but say, Junior sister Shangguan, Yunyao's cultivation has been destroyed, and she has been taught a lesson. Why don't you let her live? No matter what, Chu Yunyao was her sister. Seeing her sister suffer such humiliation, she was also extremely painful in her heart. Hearing this, without waiting for Shangguan Yingying to speak, Chu Yunyao had already angrily said, Chu Yunshang, you don't need to come here to pretend to be kind. Since you've already decided to abandon me, why are you pretending to be a good person now? It's none of your business whether I live or die. Yunyao. Chu Yunshang frowned. She couldn't do anything about it. If she could, she really wished that none of this had happened. Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but look at Chu Yunshang and said lightly, Since Chu Yunyao doesn't appreciate your feelings, you don't need to think too highly of yourself. Since you've already made your decision, why are you still acting like this? She didn't like Chu Yunshang either. If Chu Yunshang decided to completely ignore Chu Yunyao after leaving, she might appreciate it a little. Now she really did it, and wanted to set up a chastity memorial arch. She also felt very disgusted. He Yunjun took Chu Yunshang's hand and advised, Yunshang, if you don't want to be buried with Chu Yunyao, then don't say anything. The current situation is not good for us. If you waver your position like this, maybe they will kill you directly. Chu Yunshang nodded helplessly. Now she didn't dare to say anything more. Bewitching and Duan Huali's battle was in full swing. The tyrannical qi burst out, and wherever it passed it was a mess. Chapter 3887. The more Duan Huali fought, the more shocked he became, because he realized that Bewitching was so young, but his combat experience was so terrifying. Originally, he thought that even if Bewitching's strength was comparable to his, he would still have a certain advantage in terms of combat experience. However, Bewitching's performance was flawless, and he couldn't find a single flaw. This was a bit too terrifying. Could it be that all the cultivators who came out of the demon training tower had such terrifying combat strength? After Bewitching fought with Duan Huali for a while, he had a certain understanding of Duan Huali's strength, and the coldness in his eyes became more and more intense. In the next moment, Bewitching and Duan Huali separated. After probing for so long, you still haven't revealed your true strength. Now it's time for us to see the real deal. Bewitching's voice was cold, and his deep eyes rippled with a cold light. Hearing Bewitching's words, Duan Huali couldn't help but be stunned, and his eyes flashed with a strong sense of astonishment. Probing? Could it be that he used all his strength to fight with Bewitching? But to Bewitching, it was just a probe. Is it not? Bewitching asked back. Duan Huali's expression was a bit ugly. Facing Bewitching's words, he couldn't weaken his momentum, and immediately said, Yes, it's time for us to see the real deal. Today, you're the one who's looking for trouble with me. If you die in my hands, don't regret it. Hearing this, Bewitching sneered. You're overestimating yourself. There's only one possibility today, and that is that you'll die in my hands. In the next moment, a vigorous aura erupted from Bewitching's body, and a rich blood color mixed with darkness appeared in front of everyone's eyes. A faint smell of blood spread in the air, and Bewitching's entire body was shrouded in a bloody aura. However, those who had seen Bewitching's bloody aura before would find that the bloody aura he displayed this time was slightly different from usual. Xiren, why do I feel that Bewitching's bloody aura seems to have something more than usual? Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but look at Xiren, with a trace of curiosity in her eyes. Xiren nodded slightly. I think so too. Maybe it has something to do with Bewitching's murderous aura this time. Until now, Even they didn't know what effect of murderous aura had. Now that they had the opportunity to see Di Beichen's display, they were very much looking forward to it. After Di Beichen displayed the blood chi field, everyone was surprised to find that Di Beichen's aura had improved. It can't be. This bloody aura is actually so abnormal. Di Beichen is already a Starlight Realm cultivator, but it can still increase his cultivation. The extent of this increase is too terrifying. This is the power of the blood chi field. That's why there are so many cultivators fighting to be the first to obtain it. But according to what I know, it seems that after a cultivator reaches the Starlight Realm, the bloody aura can only increase their cultivation by 1 level. This is because the gap between each level is too big. Under everyone's curious gazes, Di Beichen's aura directly increased from Starlight Realm Level 2 to Starlight Realm Level 3. Seeing this, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Although being able to increase by 1 level was very shocking, it was still easier to accept than increasing by 2 levels. Chapter 3888. The effect of this blood chi field is really amazing. I'm really envious of it. It's a pity that I didn't have that ability back then. Chu Jinfeng's eyes were filled with envy. When it comes to the ability to fight above one's level, the cultivator who has obtained the inheritance of the blood refining tower is number 1. This is the reason why the blood refining tower is so attractive. Ren Ziheng couldn't help but sigh. A genius inheritor that only appears once every few hundred years. The inheritance he possesses is naturally not something that ordinary people can obtain. It's not surprising that it has such a heaven-defying effect. Ren Zimei nodded. Junior brother Di is so young, but now he already has the combat strength of a third-order star magnate. This is really terrifying. Originally, I was a little worried about the result of the fight between him and Duan Huali, but now it seems that he will definitely win. A smile appeared on Ren Zimei's face. Di Beichen had the means to improve his cultivation, but Duan Huali didn't. As a result, Duan Huali was bound to be at a disadvantage. In today's battle, they had won a complete victory. After Duan Huali saw Di Beichen's aura improve, his eyes suddenly froze and his face became ugly. He couldn't help but look at Chu Yunyao, who was not far away, only to see that Chu Yunyao was now half dead. Her whole person was already disheartened. To be honest, not only was Chu Yunyao's cultivation destroyed, but she was also seriously injured. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang and the others didn't take her life now, she would definitely not be able to survive. Thinking of this, Duan Huali couldn't help but regret. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have joined in the fun today. Now he was in deep trouble. At this moment, Duan Huali didn't have any intention to continue fighting with Di Beichen. Originally, he had already used all his skills, but he could only fight to a draw with Di Beichen. Now that Di Beichen's aura had increased, he had fallen into a disadvantageous position. He didn't need to fight to know that he would lose. If he was defeated by Di Beichen, he was afraid that Di Beichen would not show mercy. After all, he had expressed his interest in Bailey Hongzhuang in front of Di Beichen. Therefore, Di Beichen would definitely want to kill him. Duan Huali could not help but look around, his mind wondering if there was a chance for him to escape. Unfortunately, Di Beichen seemed to have seen through his thoughts. His aura was tightly locked onto him, making it impossible for him to escape. Damn it! Duan Huali cursed in his heart. He really didn't expect that he would fall into such a situation today. No matter what, he couldn't fail at such an easy task. He had to escape today, but as far as the people present were concerned, there was really no one who could help him. Duan Huali, you don't have to think of a way to escape. I won't give you any chance. Di Beichen directly exposed Duan Huali's thoughts. Hearing Di Beichen's words, Duan Huali's face turned cold. He said, I don't have any thoughts of escaping. You're overthinking it. If that's the case, then that's even better. Di Beichen heard this and didn't continue to argue with Duan Huali. In the next moment, the flowing light sword appeared in his hand. With a flash of his body, he charged towards Duan Huali at lightning speed. The difference between the third level and the second level of the star rays was not small. Di Beichen's attack forced Duan Huali to retreat step by step. Ding ding ding. Chapter 3889. The fighting strength of a third-order star magnate was very terrifying. There was only a gap of 1 order. But Bewitching's fighting strength at this moment was much stronger than before. Duan Huali was originally able to fight on par with Bewitching, but at this moment, he was completely forced back by Bewitching. He could only try his best to resist Bewitching's attack, but there was no possibility of counterattack. Terrifying sword chi burst out in all directions. Wherever the two people passed, sword marks appeared on the ground. It was very terrifying. The surrounding cultivators all quickly retreated. The destructive power of this kind of cultivation was extremely terrifying. After seeing this scene, Niuzhuang couldn't help but rejoice. Fortunately, he had already decided not to be enemies with Bewitching. Now it seemed that he really had foresight. If Bewitching had displayed such strength at that time, he was afraid that he would have died in Bewitching's hands. The younger generation would surpass the older. At this moment, there was only this thought in his mind. At the age of 20, he had broken through to the third-order star magnate. His future potential was really not ordinary. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others stood quietly at the side, watching the battle between Bewitching and Duan Huali. Chu Yunyao was now half dead and had no influence on them. Instead of directly killing Chu Yunyao, it was better to let her calm down in this pain for a moment. Hongzhuang, Beicheng's current strength is really amazing. Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but sigh. When they returned to the outside world again, Situ Yan and the others would be shocked to know that Bewitching's strength had improved. Yes, Beicheng's appearance now is completely different from when he first came to Penglai Island. Xiren's face was filled with emotion. However, this is the Beicheng I have always known. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. Beicheng's strength improvement is indeed astonishing. Now the heavenly mandate body has only just shown its ability. In the long run, I'm afraid that our cultivation won't be able to catch up. Even though it was very difficult for her cultivation to catch up with Bewitching, Bailey Hongzhuang was also very happy. Seeing Bewitching's strength improve made her happier than her own. Bewitching's attacks were extremely fierce, and the angle of his sword was also tricky and ruthless. After staying in the demon tower for so long, they took people's lives as soon as they made a move. Only in this way could they win more efficiently. Duan Huali had never been to the demon refining pagoda before, so he was naturally unfamiliar with this kind of fighting style. Under Bewitching's offensive, he was surrounded by danger. If he was not careful, he could be seriously injured by Bewitching. This feeling made him extremely uncomfortable. The flowing light sword flew, bringing with it a bloody light. When Bewitching withdrew the flowing light sword, everyone found that Duan Huali's body had wounds. His originally neat clothes were now covered with bloodstains, and his hair had become extremely messy. Where was the elegant and proud appearance from before? Duan Huali is unlucky today. I'm afraid he will stay here forever. The cultivators present shook their heads and sighed. They didn't expect such an ending. Duan Huali stayed in Penglai Palace. Who knows how many women have been harmed by him? If he dies, it's a good thing. Chu Yunyao happened to be his companion. He won't be lonely on the road to the Yellow Springs. Chapter 3890. Duan Huali's face was gloomy, as black as the bottom of a pot. The pain in his body was far less than the pain in his heart at the moment. In the face of a grasshopper that he could pinch to death, that will now control his life and death. This gap was undoubtedly huge. He wanted to let Bailey Hongzhuang know how much stronger he was than Bewitching. But now the situation was a direct slap to his face. Chu Yunshang and Chu Yunyao's eyes fell on Duan Huali, and their hearts were full of worry. Chu Yunyao was now completely disheartened, but she didn't want Duan Huali to die like this. If she had been destroyed by Bailey Hongzhuang before, then she wouldn't have asked Duan Huali for help, and wouldn't have dragged Duan Huali into the water. He Yinjun couldn't help but look at Chu Yunshang beside him. After seeing the deep worry in the latter's eyes, he couldn't help but frown, and a few wisps of unhappiness appeared between his eyebrows. When he pursued Chu Yunshang, he knew that Chu Yunshang's heart was tied to Duan Huali, but because of Chu Yunyao, they had to separate. He thought that after such a long time, Chu Yunshang had already changed her mind, but he didn't expect that she was still so worried about Duan Huali at this moment. Could it be that his sincerity these days had no meaning to Chu Yunxiang? Thinking of this, an unspeakable hatred also spread in He Yunjuan's heart. Boom! A shocking sound resounded. Bewitching and Duan Huali's attacks collided fiercely. The whole ground seemed to tremble, and there was a feeling of heaven and earth shattering. Everyone only saw the two bright lights colliding with each other. Immediately after, they felt the earth-shattering power. They were all shocked. However, amidst the dazzling light, no one knew what was going on with Bewitching and Duan Huali. It was not until a muffled groan was heard that a figure fell heavily to the ground like a parabola. Everyone's eyes narrowed as they realized that this person was Duan Huali. When everyone saw Duan Huali's miserable appearance, they couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Duan Huali's clothes had long been torn by Bewitching's sword, revealing bits of blood. Now that they were mixed with dust and mud, he looked even more battered and exhausted. Most importantly, Duan Huali's face was extremely pale. It was obvious that he had suffered a heavy blow. On the contrary, Bewitching looked as if nothing had happened. He still had a graceful and elegant appearance, without the slightest bit of disorder. This kind of contrast in strength made everyone sigh. "You've lost," Bewitching said slowly. Following Bewitching's words, Duan Huali's face became increasingly gloomy, but he couldn't say anything. He had indeed lost, and he had lost very badly. In the next moment, Bewitching looked at Duan Huali, his eyes cold and indifferent. "Back then, I had said that I would definitely kill you. Today, I can also fulfill this promise." Duan Huali's pupils suddenly shrank, and he immediately struggled to stand up. He didn't want to die here. However, Bewitching's movements were extremely fast. With a wave of his right hand, the flowing light sword directly pierced out, mercilessly attacking Duan Huali. Seeing this, Duan Huali immediately wanted to dodge, but unfortunately, he had just been severely injured and couldn't quickly dodge. Chapter 3891. The appearance of this figure was beyond everyone's expectations. Everyone looked at Chu Yunyao, who was standing in front of Duan Huali, in astonishment. The flowing light sword mercilessly pierced Chu Yunyao's body. She couldn't help but groan. Blood overflowed from the corner of her mouth, and she slowly fell down. "Yunyao." Duan Huali stared at the figure in front of him in a daze. As if he had been hit by a heavy blow, he quickly stepped forward and caught Chu Yunyao's body. He had never thought that Chu Yunyao would actually stand in front of him. Chu Yunyao looked at Duan Huali, and a smile slowly appeared on her lips. "Huali, it's good that you can still hug me." She looked at Duan Huali's face with infatuation. She reached out her hand and slowly covered it. Her eyes were blurred and happy. "I wanted to do this a long time ago, but you never gave me a chance." "Yunyao." Duan Huali held Chu Yunyao's hand. His eyes were full of pity. "Why are you so stupid?" Chu Yunyao smiled faintly. "I've been abolished and seriously injured. I definitely can't live. It's all my fault. If it weren't for me being too stingy, things wouldn't have turned out like this. Sister is right. You've all let go of this matter. I'm the only one who's still stubborn. It's just that, Huali, for so many years, I've never liked anyone until I met you. I'm not as free and easy as you. I can't let go just like that. I Chu Yunyao like someone for a lifetime." Tears slowly fell from the corners of Chu Yunyao's eyes. "I know I'm wrong, but if I don't do something related to you, I really can't bear it. Even if you hate me, at least you still remember me. After I leave, don't forget me, okay?" Chu Yunyao stared at Duan Huali and pleaded. Duan Huali nodded repeatedly, his face full of tension. "No, you'll be fine." For a long time, he only felt that Chu Yunyao was too willful and unreasonable. Compared with Chu Yunyao, Chu Yunxiang was undoubtedly much more mature than her. Over the years, Chu Yunyao had been doing these little things. In fact, he was very tired of it, but for the sake of Chu Yunxiang, he ignored it. However, he forgot one thing. The reason why Chu Yunyao did this was that she cared for him. In contrast, Chu Yunxiang's feelings were much lighter than Chu Yunyao's. When Bailey's eyes, a strange look appeared on Yunyao's eyes. They always thought that the reason why Chu Yunyao did this was because of her strong possessiveness, destroying the mutual love between Chu Yunxiang and Duan Huali. but they never thought that her feelings for Duan Huali were so strong. Originally, there was a certain distance between Chu Yunyao and Duan Huali. After she was seriously injured, she had already suffered great pain. But after seeing that Duan Huali was injured, she tried to get close to Duan Huali, until Bewitching's flowing light sword flew out. Chu Yunyao burst out with a very fast speed, and blocked in front of Duan Huali. Thinking about it, only when the person you care about the most is in danger, can you burst out with such speed. They only thought that Chu Yunyao was vicious, selfish and ruthless before, but they didn't realize the depth of her feelings for Duan Huali. Chapter 3892. Shangguan Yingying's eyes flashed with a complicated light. She originally hated Chu Yunyao to the extreme. She only thought that this woman was completely crazy. But at this moment, when she heard Chu Yunyao's words before she died, she suddenly felt that Chu Yunyao was a little pitiful. In fact, it was Chu Yunyao who fell in love with Duan Huali first. The two of them fell in love at first sight, but so many things happened because of a strange combination of circumstances. If Duan Huali hadn't recognized the wrong person at the beginning, maybe they would have been a couple envied by everyone now. Unfortunately, in the end, they fell in love with each other, and became what they are now. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows also showed a bit of emotion. It was a pity that the two sisters fell in love with the same person. Chu Yunyao's destruction of the relationship between Duan Huali and Chu Yunshang was indeed selfish, but in the end, she liked him too much, so she couldn't let it go. She didn't understand Chu Yunyao at first, but after hearing what the latter said just now, she suddenly understood. Because she liked him too much, she couldn't accept that he was close to any woman except her. Because as long as she thought about it, it was unbearable. They all ignored Chu Yunyao's love for Duan Huali. They only thought that she was too willful and unwilling to let it go. But they didn't know that she only loved this person in her life. After seeing Chu Yunyao suffer such a heavy blow, Chu Yunshang also rushed to Chu Yunyao, tears flowing uncontrollably. Yunyao. Yunyao, how are you? Chu Yunyao shook her head. Sister, forgive me for not being so magnanimous. I understand. Chu Yunshang nodded repeatedly. I understand what you said. Even if I die, I still can't accept you being together, and can't accept him as my brother-in-law. Chu Yunyao's face showed a painful look. However, after I die, I should not know anything. Yunyao, you will be fine, you will be fine. Chu Yunshang quickly said, and immediately took out the elixir from her Qingquan bag, and fed it to Chu Yunyao. You will be fine. Chu Yunyao shook her head. Without cultivation, I'm already a cripple. Living is only painful. It's better to die and be free. After I die, I can also walk out of this relationship like you. With that, Chu Yunyao looked at Duan Huali again and asked, Huali, at the beginning, did you really not like me at all? Sister, is she really so much better than me? No one knew how happy she was when she and Duan Huali fell in love with each other. For more than 20 years, no one had entered her heart until Duan Huali appeared. Everything was so logical. One look was enough to make her remember it for the rest of her life. She thought that it was God's arrangement, that he was the love of her life, but she didn't expect God to play tricks on her. She looked the same as her sister, but she didn't expect that the person she liked would be the same as well. And Chu Yunshang was, Chu Yunyao's fall in love with him. She could not. She knew that she was selfish, but she just wanted to be with Duan Huali. She crazily wanted him to be by her side. As long as he was willing, she was willing to give up everything. Unfortunately, Duan Huali began to hate her. Hearing this, Duan Huali was slightly stunned and couldn't help but look at Chu Yunshang. Chapter 3893. He had thought that in this matter, he and Chu Yunshang had been hurt the most. But now it seemed that the most painful person was Chu Yunyao. He had hurt her so deeply, but she still loved him with her life. When Xiren shook his head and sighed, it's really a sin. If she had told Duan Huali her feelings earlier, she might have been able to get married. But she had to do so many things. A pitiful person must have something to hate. You can't live if you want to. Bewitching said coldly. Bailey Hongzhuang also agreed. Although Chu Yunyao was pitiful in this relationship, Weren't so many women who died in her hands more innocent? In the end, it was because he had taken the wrong path, and he had to be responsible for what he had done. If it weren't for their strength, they would have become ghosts under Chu Yunyao's sword. In the future, it was unknown how many female cultivators would die because of his resentment. I did. Duan Huali held Chu Yunyao's hand tightly. I liked you. Listening to Duan Huali's words, Chu Yunyao's face showed a satisfied smile. As soon as she opened her mouth, she couldn't help coughing. Blood spurted out, and her breath was weak to the extreme. Yunyao. Duan Huali's face was full of tension. He hugged Chu Yunyao tightly. You can't have anything happen to you. It was all my fault before. Chu Yunyao's lips curled into a smile. Her face was pale to the extreme. She reached out and stroked Duan Huali's face. Hearing you say this, I'm already satisfied. Even if you lied to me, I believe it. I'm really happy Suddenly, Chu Yunyao's hand fell down heavily. Duan Huali and Chu Yunshang were both shocked. Yunyao. However, Chu Yunyao closed her eyes and no longer breathed. Duan Huali and Chu Yunshang's faces were covered with tears. Duan Huali even hugged Chu Yunyao's body and cried. Everyone sighed when they saw this scene. They didn't expect that it would end up like this. Hong Zhuang, do you think Duan Huali is real? Does he really like Chu Yunyao? Shangguan Yingying raised her eyebrows, her eyes full of curiosity. She felt that the love Duan Huali said should be to comfort Chu Yunyao. The one he really liked should be Chu Yunshang. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang thought for a moment and said, It's true. Shangguan Yingying was slightly stunned. Why? In fact, Duan Huali didn't know whether he liked Chu Yunyao or Chu Yunshang, but compared with Chu Yunyao's selfishness and Chu Yunshang's selflessness, Chu Yunyao was inferior, so Duan Huali liked Chu Yunshang more. However, Chu Yunshang was now a couple with He Yunjun, but Chu Yunyao was willing to die for him. This gave him a great impact. At the beginning, didn't Duan Huali like Chu Yunshang as Chu Yunyao? So he must have liked Chu Yunyao, and I'm afraid he has fallen in love with Chu Yunyao now. It's really unbelievable to talk about love with a playboy like Duan Huali. Renzime shook her head and sighed. She thought that it would be a pleasure to teach Chu Yunyao a lesson today, but she didn't expect to see this emotional scene in the end. Chapter 3894. Duan Huali was immersed in grief, holding Chu Yunyao's body in a daze. He sat there as if he had lost his soul. No one knew what he was thinking. Chu Yunshang was also sitting aside in a daze. She had always felt that Chu Yunyao was too overbearing and selfish. If it were someone else, she would have ignored them long ago. It was only because of this blood relationship that she could not give up, that she had been tolerant and patient. In fact, many times, she was also extremely tired of Chu Yunyao, especially when Chu Yunyao accused her of being the third party in their relationship. She was angry and aggrieved. Later, she was forced by Chu Yunyao to separate from Duan Huali. She had also complained and suffered. However, when Chu Yunyao apologized to her just now, her heart felt an unprecedented pain. She began to blame herself for not choosing to quit at the beginning. If she had chosen to quit and let Chu Yunyao succeed, then she would not have ended up like this now. In fact, she had no right to complain about Chu Yunyao's selfishness, because she did not choose to quit at the beginning, which was also a kind of selfishness. However, in the future, her sister would no longer make trouble without reason. Duan Huali, don't think that you can escape death by pretending to be sad here. Xiren suddenly said. Their purpose today was very clear. They wanted to kill Chu Yunyao and Duan Huali. Now that Chu Yunyao was dead, it was Duan Huali's turn. Duan Huali raised his head in a daze, as if he had lost his soul. Obviously, Chu Yunyao's death had given him a great blow. Not long after, Duan Huali stood up and looked at Bewitching and said, Since you want to take my life, then do it. Hearing Duan Huali's words, everyone present couldn't help but be stunned. They didn't expect that Chu Yunyao's death would give him such a big blow, that he didn't even want his own life. Bewitching looked at Duan Huali indifferently. His body moved, and he didn't hold back. He directly punched Duan Huali's dantian. Duan Huali's figure flew backward and fell heavily to the ground. His face flashed with intense pain. You should pay for what you've done. Beichen's voice was cold. In the end, he didn't even look at Duan Huali. He turned around and walked to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. Holding Bailey Hongzhuang's hand, he said, "Let's go back." Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were a little surprised by Beichen's decision. However, since Beichen had already said so, they naturally had no objections. Okay. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded and turned to leave with Beichen. After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and the others leave, everyone present couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. Today's battle was really too lively. Beichen didn't kill Duan Huali directly, but just abolished his cultivation. It's really unexpected. In fact, what's the difference between abolishing his cultivation and killing him? It's just that he's still alive, but he's no longer as powerful as before. It's impossible for him to continue to stay in the Prunglai Palace. With such cultivation, I'm afraid that he would have died before he could leave the Prunglai Palace. Everyone shook their heads and sighed. At the beginning, the relationship between Duan Huali and the other two caused a shock. Now the ending was also amazing. Chapter 3895. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others slowly walked towards their residence. Today, they had just returned to Prunglai Palace and had already dealt with two big opponents. It was really very satisfying. Beichen, why didn't you kill Duan Huali directly? Bailey Hongzhuang turned her head and looked at Beichen's perfect side profile. She couldn't help but ask. Beichen glanced at Bailey Hongzhuang, and the corners of his mouth slowly raised into a smile. In fact, if I kept him alive, he would be in more pain. Why? Shangguan Yingying also asked curiously. It wasn't until Chu Yuniao was about to die that he realized that the person he liked the most was Chu Yuniao. Unfortunately, there was no chance to keep her. Presumably, he should be deeply regretting his wrong choice now. Since he was originally not a fickle person, he would definitely be in incomparable pain now that he has come to his senses. To him, death is actually a kind of relief, Ren Ziheng suddenly said. Junior brother D, am I right? Beichen nodded, yes. Do you want Duan Huali to be immersed in pain, so you didn't take his life? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. He has done so many wrong things. If I let him die so easily, wouldn't it be too easy for him? Beichen asked. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head and sighed. Beichen, you are really too two-faced. I thought you felt that Duan Huali was a little pitiful, so you left him alive. Beichen chuckled. If I really felt that he was pitiful, then I wouldn't have destroyed his cultivation. In this way, he might still be able to walk together with Chu Yunshang in the end. Crippling his cultivation is the same as completely destroying all his hopes. That's the most painful thing. He didn't care what reason Duan Huali had for coveting Bailey Hongzhuang. As far as he was concerned, he wouldn't let go of anyone who had crooked thoughts about Bailey Hongzhuang. What's more, Duan Huali wanted to take their lives, but he didn't succeed. For such a guy, no matter how pitiful he was, he would not sympathize with him. Beichen, I really admire you more and more recently. Xiren couldn't help but sigh. But you are right, a guy like him should be punished. In my opinion, I'm afraid that Duan Huali won't live for long. Mo Yunjua said slowly. Listening to Mo's words, the crowd couldn't help but be a little surprised. Junior brother Mo, why would you say that? Renzime asked. Juzest Ju kill him. With his life. Chu Jinfeng nodded. As long as it's a cultivator of our level, once their cultivation is crippled, most of them won't want to live anymore. Moreover, after receiving such a blow from Chu Yuniao, the possibility of him committing suicide is not small. It's good that he's dead. This way, we can give an explanation to those cultivators who died in their hands for no reason. Ren Ziheng said. Forget it. Now that this matter has been resolved, there's no need to affect our good mood. Chu Jinfeng's face revealed a smile. You guys just came back today, so we have to celebrate for you guys. At the same time, tell us about the interesting things about the Demon Refining Tower, and let us experience it. Chapter 3896. After the death of Chu Yuniao, the combat power of Bailey Hongzhuang and others quickly spread in the Prunglai Palace. With this kind of combat power, Their team was already considered an extremely tyrannical existence in the Punglai Palace. A few days later, as everyone guessed, Duan Huali committed suicide after Chu Yunyao was buried. After he died, it was Chu Yunsheng who buried him with Chu Yunyao. They couldn't be together when they were alive, but at least they could be together after death. After this news came out, the cultivators in the Punglai Palace all sighed. They suddenly felt that it was extremely difficult to meet a lover. On the contrary, it facilitated many lovers in the palace to be together. On this day, Bailey Hongzhuang and others went to Long Yanwei's residence together, because today was the day Mo Yunjue chose a contract beast. When they arrived as expected, not only Long Yanwei was there, but Yi Zihua was also there. Mentor Yi, why are you so free every day? When Xiren couldn't help but tease. Every time we come to find Master Long, you seem to be here? Hearing this, Yi Zihua frowned. What? You stinking brat dare to have a problem with me? How dare I? When Xiren quickly waved his hand. Knowing that Mentor Yi is so concerned about us, we can't be happier. In this way, in addition to Master Long, there is also Mentor Yi as a pillar. You are such a smooth talker. Yi Zihua pretended to be helpless, but a smile appeared in his eyes. At first, he really didn't care much about these guys, but as he gradually became familiar with them, he became more and more optimistic about these little guys. Now Di Beichen, Bailey Hongzhuang and Mo Yunjue have all become Star Realm cultivators, and their future is really limitless. Although Xiren and Shengguan Yingying's cultivation is a little worse, it should only be a matter of time. After all, their cultivation talent is there. You little fellows really can't stop once you come back. Long Yanwei helplessly looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Although he already knew that there was a huge conflict between Bailey Hongzhuang and Chu Yunyao, he did not expect that even Duan Huali would be involved in this matter. It wasn't easy for them to recruit an Astral Radiance Realm cultivator, but they didn't expect to lose a rank 2 Astral Radiance Realm Duan Huali in the blink of an eye. He felt very helpless about this. Any cultivator in the Starlight Realm was a top-notch cultivator in the Punglai Palace. The death of even one person was a great loss to the Punglai Palace. Hehe. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. Lord Long, this matter should be within your expectations. If there is hatred, then there is hatred. If there is hatred, then there is hatred. Alas, Long Yanwei sighed. I know that you guys are the ones who don't stop. As soon as you came back, you made such a big commotion. After the palace master knew about it, he specially came over to ask me. What did the palace master say? Shengguan Yingying quickly asked. I have already spoken to the palace master, but in the future, you guys should calm down a little. No matter which force it is, a Star Realm cultivator is an important resource. It can't withstand your torment. And Lord Long, don't worry. We are not people who like to cause trouble. It's just that some people deliberately came to find trouble with us, so we took action. Chapter 3897. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Long Yanwei and Yi Zihua could not help but look at each other, and the helplessness in their hearts grew stronger. They naturally heard that Bailey Hongzhuang's words were a little reserved. If others did not come to find trouble, they would not take action. If others came to find trouble, they would not be polite. The most important thing was that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others seemed to be born with the constitution of attracting trouble. Since they entered the Punglai Palace, they had been in constant trouble. The most important thing was that they did not take the initiative to find trouble every time. In this regard, they were really helpless. They still remembered that a few days ago, after knowing that Chu Yunyao and Duan Huali were both dead, they had specially discussed this matter. Yanwei, do you think the reason why Bailey Hongzhuang and the others can improve their cultivation so quickly is because they have been encountering all kinds of trouble? If their cultivation speed is not fast enough, they would have died long ago. Yi Zihua sighed. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the others first came to the Punglai Palace, they caused a lot of trouble in the outer hall. Fortunately, their lives were saved and their strength was improved again. Unexpectedly, not long after peace, they caused trouble again that day. Chu Yunyao's cultivation was far superior to theirs. They were lucky to escape from Chu Yunyao's hands and went to the demon training tower. Now that their cultivation had improved again, they defeated Chu Yunyao and successfully took revenge. If they had not improved fast enough, then they would have really died in the hands of Chu Yunyao and the others. I don't know either. Long Yanwei shook his head. However, the luck of these few little fellows is quite good. Although they suffer great trouble every time, in the end, they are able to turn danger into safety and instead become successful. I have stayed in the Punglai Palace for a long time. I have seen a lot of cultivators, but I have to admit that these little guys are indeed talented. Coupled with this excellent luck, it is amazing that they can reach this step. I hope their good luck can continue like this. It's precisely because of this sense of urgency that they don't slack off in their cultivation. Therefore, I don't know whether it's good or bad to always attract trouble. If it weren't for these troubles, maybe their cultivation wouldn't have improved so quickly. Maybe this is the arrangement of God. What a few amazing little fellows. Seeing that Long Yanwei was deep in thought, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but ask, Lord Long, what are you thinking about? Hearing this, Long Yanwei came back to his senses and shook his head. It's nothing. I wonder if Master Long has any good contracted beasts? Can you introduce them to me? When Xiren asked with a smile. Don't tell me you want to take away my best contract beast? Long Yanwei asked. Xiren smiled brightly. Master Long, haven't you always said that you want to find the best master for your contracted beast? Mo Yunjue is a very powerful cultivator. I'm afraid you won't find many people as outstanding as him in Punglai Palace. He definitely won't disgrace your contract beast. You found a good master. Only you know how to talk. Long Yanwei glared at Xiren, and then looked at Mo Yunjue with a smile. I do have a few good contract beasts here. I'll introduce them to you later. You can choose your favorite. Hearing this, Mo Yunjue cupped his hands to Long Yanwei and said, Thank you, Lord Long. Chapter 3898. Now that you've joined Punglai Palace, you're one of us. Long Yanwei smiled and patted Mo Yunjue's shoulder. I'm very optimistic about you. Although he didn't know much about Mo Yunjue's fighting strength, he was able to reach the second-order star rank at such a young age, which proved that his potential was very terrifying. Yunjue, since Master Long said so, your contract beast must not be bad. Bewitching suddenly said with a smile. They had known Long Yanwei for so long, so they naturally knew about Long Yanwei. Long Yanwei was very kind, and would definitely not treat Mo Yunjue unfairly. Next, Long Yanwei introduced several contract beasts to Mo Yunjue. They were all the most popular contract beasts among cultivators, and were very precious. After Mo Yunjue understood the various characteristics of these contract beasts, his face couldn't help but reveal a shocked expression. When he was in the outside world, he didn't choose his own contract beast, because he had enough confidence in his own strength. Generally, contract beasts with low growth rate would not be of any help to him. On the contrary, it would only be a waste of energy. He didn't expect that after coming to Punglai Palace, he would have the opportunity to obtain a contract beast of this grade. Punglai Palace's resources really couldn't be compared to the outside world. While Mo Yunjue was choosing his contract beast, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others stayed outside. Everyone had their own contract beast that they liked. Whether it was suitable or not, they had to choose it themselves. They didn't know much about contract beasts and couldn't help much. However, they didn't need to worry at all. Master Long had a deep understanding of contract beasts, and also knew what kind of cultivator was most suitable for which contract beast. They believed that Master Long would definitely help Long Yanwei choose the most suitable contract beast. After Mo Yunjue and Long Yanwei went in to choose their contract beasts, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others sat down outside. At this time, Yizihua suddenly placed a Qingquan bag in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but be surprised. Instructor E, this is? This is your share of the healing medicine. Yizihua smiled. I knew you guys were coming over today, so I brought it over. I see. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and took the Qingquan bag. Thank you for making this trip, Mentor E. Now you know that I'm not that free, right? Yizihua chuckled, his gaze involuntarily turning towards Xiren, who was not far away. Seeing this, Xiren hurriedly said, Instructor E, I said the wrong thing just now. Please don't hold it against me. It's good that you know. Yizihua nodded, revealing a satisfied expression. Hong Zhuang, quickly take a look and see how many spirit stones we have. Shangguan Yingying came to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. It was said that the sales of this healing medicine were excellent. Even if so many doctors in Penglai Palace made it together, there was still a situation where it was sold out. Now, all the forces in Penglai Island were buying this healing medicine. The degree of popularity was very shocking, just by listening to it. Bailey Hongzhuang was able to get 30% of it, so the number of spirit stones must be very shocking. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and opened the Qianquan bag. When she saw the number of spirit stones inside, her eyes couldn't help but reveal a look of surprise. Chapter 3899. Wow, so many spiritual stones. Shangguan Yingying could not help but exclaim. The Qianquan pouch was filled with spiritual stones. The amount was truly shocking. Seeing Shangguan Yingying's shocked expression, Yizihua could not help but chuckle. Hong Zhuang is the wealthiest person among us all. You'll have a steady stream of income in the future. Who knows how many people will be jealous of you? For cultivators, spiritual stones were unavoidable if they wanted to increase their cultivation. Spiritual stones could greatly increase a cultivator's cultivation speed. Otherwise, at their level, if they did not use spiritual stones and relied purely on the yuan qi they absorbed from the world, who knew how long it would take for them to increase their cultivation by one level? However, it was not easy for ordinary cultivators to obtain spiritual stones, unless they made some transactions or completed some extra missions for the Penglai Palace. The cultivation resources they received every month were not enough for cultivation. In comparison, Bailey Hongzhuang had superb medical skills. Clearly, she did not need to worry about spiritual stones. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled as a complicated light flashed through her eyes. There were probably very few people who knew about this. Otherwise, with such a large amount of money, she would have become a delicious piece of cake in everyone's eyes. Everyone would want to rob her. This is our Hong Zhuang's ability. Shangguan Yingying placed her hands on Bailey Hongzhuang's shoulders. Her face was filled with pride. Not everyone has such amazing medical skills as Hong Zhuang. Yizihua nodded his head. Regarding this point, he also admired Bailey Hongzhuang. She had only gone to an inner palace disciples training ground once, yet she was able to concoct such an effective healing medicine for dark energy. It was truly remarkable. Right now, the people from the 100 Flowers Gate are the most curious about you. They have already sent people to negotiate with the palace master many times, wanting to meet you. Yizihua suddenly thought of this, and could not help but speak. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows when she heard that. Actually, she did not have a bad impression of the 100 Flowers Gate. Back then, the people from the 100 Flowers Gate had invited her to take a look. However, the 100 Flowers Gate was not suitable for others, so she did not plan on joining. After all, she was the only doctor in their group. The others wouldn't be able to develop well in the 100 Flowers Gate. You are now the treasure of our Penglai Palace. Many forces want to meet you. There are countless people who want to poach you. Yizihua smiled faintly. However, these people were all rejected by the palace master. After all, it wasn't easy to recruit you back. We can't let others take advantage of this opportunity. When these words were spoken, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could not help but chuckle. Yizihua had described the palace master to such an extent. Teacher Yi, according to what you said, Hong Zhuang is the treasure of the Penglai Palace. Then you have to be our powerful backer. Xiren joked. Yizihua glanced at Xiren. What? Could it be that you are not satisfied with me and Master Long as your backers? If you ask me, there aren't many newcomers in the Penglai Palace who can cause as much trouble as you. If it were anyone else, they would have already been punished. However, you guys have always been fine. Chapter 3900. Listening to Yizihua's words, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others all smiled and nodded. Mentor Yi, I was wrong. You and Master Long have always been very concerned about us. We have always kept this in mind. Xiren said with a smile. In fact, only Master Xiaolong and Mentor Yi had always been very good to them. Thinking back to when they killed their opponents in front of Master Long and Mentor Yi, if it were other cultivators, they would definitely be punished to a certain extent, or at least they would be unhappy. However, Master Long and Mentor Yi did not have the slightest dissatisfaction because of this. On the contrary, they showed a strong attitude and said that they would stand behind them. It was because of this that the number of cultivators who came to find trouble with them decreased a lot. Otherwise, with just their attractiveness, who knows how many cultivators would be attracted? Kid, you still have some conscience. Izihua showed a satisfied expression. Thinking back to when Long Yanwei took great care of Bailey Hongzhuang's people, he was a little puzzled. However, as he gradually became familiar with Bailey Hongzhuang's people, he became more and more fond of these little guys. The most important thing was that these little guys never let them down. Not only did their strength improve very quickly, Bailey Hongzhuang also developed a healing medicine that had a great effect on Penglai Palace. Thinking back to when Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were cultivators with great potential in their eyes, it was needless to say now. Mentor Yi, according to what you said, Hongzhuang is now a delicious cake in the eyes of other forces. Shangguan Yingying's eyes flashed with excitement. Although this matter had nothing to do with her, knowing that Bailey Hongzhuang was so valuable and was valued by so many forces, she also felt happy. Izihua nodded. Yes, you have to be careful when you go out now. I am really afraid that some people will directly kidnap you by hook or by crook. As this healing medicine was sold on Penglai Island, everyone became more aware of the effects of this healing medicine, which immediately attracted many people's jealousy. Ordinary forces naturally could not pay such a price to poach Bailey Hongzhuang, so there was no lack of people who had some other thoughts. This was also one of the reasons why he and Long Yanwei insisted on coming back with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Mentor Yi, don't worry about this. We will be fine. Xiren's face showed a smile. However, if someone offers Hongzhuang very good conditions, what will you do? Hearing this, Yi frowned, and a look of contemplation flashed in his eyes. Do you think Hongzhuang is as ungrateful as you? I believe that Hongzhuang will definitely not leave Penglai Palace because of other conditions. Speaking of this, Izihua seemed extremely confident. Since the moment Bailey Hongzhuang chose to give the right to dispose of the healing medicine to Long Yanwei, he knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was a person who valued friendship and righteousness. She would never betray Penglai Palace and Long Yanwei for some benefits. He could rest assured about this. In fact, Palace Master Bai Tsongming was also worried about this matter before. He even thought about whether he should personally talk to Bailey Hongzhuang. After all, Bailey Hongzhuang's value was different from before. As long as she was willing to join other forces, they would be willing to pay any price. However, he and Long Yanwei still refused. Chapter 3901. Hongzhuang, am I right? Izihua asked aloud. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded with a faint smile, her eyes sincere and serious. Mentor Yi, you are right. I will not leave Penglai Palace. In the entire Penglai Island, Penglai Palace was second to none. What's more, Penglai Palace's conditions for inviting them were already very generous. If it were other forces, it was absolutely impossible to offer such conditions. Most importantly, they received great kindness from Master Long. No matter what, they would not let Master Long down. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's answer, the smile on Izihua's face widened a little, and he said with satisfaction, I knew you would say this. It seems that my judgment and Yanwei's judgment were not wrong. Master Long, although your judgment of Hongzhuang is right, your judgment of me is wrong. When Xiren said aloud, What do you mean? Hongzhuang is naturally not a person who forgets friendship, but neither am I. Although you always have some misunderstandings about me, I have always liked you very much. Xiren's face was filled with a smile. Although he usually liked to joke with Izihua, what he said was also the truth. Come on, you stinking brat. I think you are the most shrewd among all of us. Just as everyone was chatting, there was suddenly a movement inside. Seeing this, everyone couldn't help but look inside. It should be Mo Yunjue who chose his contract beast. Soon, Long Yanwei and Mo Yunjue slowly walked out from inside. Yunjue, what contract beast did you choose? Bailey Hongzhuang asked first. Long Yanwei had many contract beasts, and there was no lack of powerful contract beasts. They had already seen this before, but they didn't know what kind of contract beast Mo Yunjue was suitable for. Looking at Master Long's expression, I know that you did not treat Mo Yunjue badly. Quickly tell us what kind of contract beast it is, so that we can see it. Everyone had the same look of interest. Mo Yunjue had always been a genius, so his contracted beast must be extraordinary as well. Seeing everyone's curious expressions, Mo Yunjue could not help but glance at Long Yanwei beside him. Long Yanwei smiled and said, "Since they are so curious, you should tell them." Hearing this, Mo Yunjue nodded and smiled. My contracted beast is the Darkness Magic Fox. Dark Magic Fox? Sheng Guaniying frowned. She had never heard of this contract beast before. What kind of contract beast was it? However, raccoons didn't seem to be very powerful. With Mo Yunjue's strength, wasn't this contract beast mistreating him? After Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching heard about the dark magic fox, their eyes couldn't help but change a little. As far as they knew, the dark magic fox was an extremely rare demonic beast. Normally, it was very difficult to see this demon beast, and it was even rarer to have it as a contract beast. Mo Yunjue nodded. That's right, it's the dark magic fox. According to what I know, the dark magic fox's body is pitch black, and it's extremely fast. It's used for sneak attacks, and it's often hard to guard against. Its claws and teeth are sharp, and it moves silently. Many people have described it as the killer of demon beasts. Bewitching slowly said. Chapter 3902. The dark magic fox was rarely seen, but its strength was extremely tyrannical, and its speed was extremely fast. Even if an ordinary cultivator encountered it, they might not be able to see it clearly. Long Yanwei slowly spoke, introducing the characteristics of the dark magic fox. Although the dark magic fox was a type of civet cat, it was relatively small in size, but its fighting strength was extremely terrifying. Most importantly, the dark magic fox also had a bewitching characteristic. Many people who encountered the dark magic fox were bewitched by it. Therefore, it was extremely difficult to capture the dark magic fox. Hearing Long Yanwei's introduction, when Xiren's eyes couldn't help but reveal a trace of doubt. Bewitching characteristic? In the past, he had never understood the contract beasts of civet cats. In his opinion, most of the beasts were tall and mighty. He had never paid much attention to contract beasts that were relatively small in size. That's right. Any cultivator who was targeted by the dark magic fox would be bewitched by it, as long as they looked into its eyes. Their mind would be temporarily blank. At this time, Instructor Izihua added, "It is precisely because the dark magic fox has such a special characteristic that it is extremely difficult to capture it. Although its reputation isn't as famous as other contract beasts, its fighting strength is extremely powerful and can't be ignored." Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were filled with amazement. She didn't expect that Mo Yunjue would choose the dark magic fox as his contract beast. However, after knowing this, she felt that the characteristics of the dark magic fox were very compatible with Mo Yunjue. This man and beast were used to walking in the darkness. They were the sharp blades of the night. The dark magic fox had such a special characteristic. It could be said to be a great weapon in battle. It was very difficult to break through. I didn't expect the dark magic fox to be so powerful. I was ignorant in the past. Sheng Guaniying sighed. If during battle, the dark magic fox's bewitching will cause the opponent's mind to go blank, wouldn't it give us a great opportunity? Therefore, cultivators who have contracted beasts like the dark magic fox are extremely terrifying. Long Yanwei revealed a smile. Previously, in order to capture this dark magic fox, I spent a lot of effort. Fortunately, I succeeded in capturing it in the end. I didn't expect Mo Yunjue to have such good eyesight at such a young age. He picked one of my precious contracted beasts, the dark magic fox. You must know that there were many cultivators who were interested in it and asked me for it for a long time, but I didn't agree to it. However, since I've already promised to let you choose as you wish, I naturally won't go back on my words. Thank you, Master Long. Mo Yunjue cupped his hands, his eyes filled with gratitude. Ever since he found out about the characteristics of the dark magic fox, he knew how precious this contracted beast was. What Long Yanwei said was definitely not an exaggeration, and being able to obtain this contracted beast made him extremely happy. Although Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had told him before that if he came to Lord Long, he would definitely be able to choose a contract beast that he liked. In fact, he did not have much hope, because even he himself had not thought about what kind of contract beast was suitable for him. Chapter 3903. You're welcome. This is what I promised to give you. Long Yanwei smiled faintly. When Xiren is right. As a contract master, I sealed so many contract beasts in order to help these contract beasts find a good master. You're so young and your cultivation is so high. It can be said that your potential is limitless. It's great that this dark magic fox has a master like you. I found a good home for it. Long Yanwei's face showed a satisfied expression. Although he didn't know Mo Yunjue's strength for a long time, Mo Yunjue was the inheritor of the Devil Training Tower. His strength was definitely not bad. Moreover, birds of a feather flocked together. Since Mo Yunjue could become good friends with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, it proved that his character was not bad. Therefore, he was very satisfied with Mo Yunjue. I'll take good care of it. Mo Yunjue's eyes flashed with a bright light. From the moment he saw the dark magic fox, he knew that the dark magic fox would be his best partner from now on. I believe in you. Long Yanwei replied with a smile. After Mo Yunjue successfully obtained a contract beast, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others did not continue to stay here and returned to their residence. The matter of Mo Yunjue obtaining a contract beast was not a secret in the Prunglai Palace. Everyone knew that the Prunglai Palace's condition for recruiting Mo Yunjue was a contract beast. Not only that, although Mo Yunjue had just joined the Prunglai Palace, because of his strength, he was directly promoted to an inner palace disciple. He did not even need to participate in the assessment. The residence arranged for him was near Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. This Mo Yunjue's treatment is really enviable. We've stayed in the Prunglai Palace for so long. Not to mention obtaining a contract beast, we couldn't even enter the inner palace. That's right. Most people are promoted from outer palace disciples to inner palace disciples. Cultivators like Mo Yunjue, who were directly promoted to inner palace disciples, are extremely rare. Who asked him to be the successor of the Demon Training Tower? His potential is far from what ordinary people can compare to. I think the contracted beast he obtained this time is definitely not simple. For a moment, Mo Yunjue had become the target of everyone's envy. He had achieved so much in such a short period of time. It was as if he had a meteoric rise. He had only just arrived, and he had already become such an awesome person without any foundation. Bailey Hongzhuang's group is really powerful. Even the friends they make are not simple. I really regret it now. If I didn't become enemies with them when they first came to Prunglai Palace, and instead made friends with them, I think I might not be like this now. Who would have thought that they would be so abnormal? Generally speaking, cultivators like them would not be able to survive. However, there was an exception this time. In my opinion, with their current momentum, no one in the Prunglai Palace will be able to stop them in the future. You're right about this. If we can't please them when we see them in the future, we definitely can't offend them. How tragic was the fate of Duan Huali and the others? A rank 2 Starlight cultivator directly became a cripple. In the end, he killed himself. No matter what, we must not repeat the same mistake. Chapter 3904. For the next few days, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had been cultivating in the cultivation area. Originally, they had obtained a certain amount of points in the Outer Palace Disciples training area. After that, Bailey Hongzhuang's healing medicine had been auctioned off, and they had obtained quite a number of points. Therefore, it was completely enough for them to cultivate in the cultivation area for a period of time. When they were in the Demon Training Tower, they had never stopped fighting in the arena. Especially Bailey Hongzhuang, Bewitching, and Mo Yunjue. After obtaining the inheritance, their cultivation had suddenly increased by a lot. Therefore, they had to go into closed-door cultivation for a period of time to stabilize their cultivation. Although the demon training tower was extremely powerful, and it had helped them to increase their cultivation without too many side effects, there were still some hidden dangers. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' philosophy was to fight steadily and surely. If they wanted to increase their cultivation, they had to do this. Xiren and Shangguan Yingying did not have any objections to this. Now that Bewitching and the others' cultivation was so much higher than theirs, they urgently needed to increase their cultivation. Therefore, they did not have any objections at all. On this day, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching had finished their cultivation and were walking towards their residence. Bewitching, we can go to the training area in a few days, right? Bailey Hongzhuang slowly said. She had already been in closed-door cultivation for a period of time and could go out to train. Although she had already seen the terror of the skeleton army once, and her heart was filled with disgust towards these fellows, she still wanted to go because it was an extremely good place to train her abilities. Bewitching nodded slightly. All right, we'll set off whenever you want. It just so happens that I want to take this opportunity to research whether or not I can understand the power of darkness better. From there, I can concoct a healing medicine that can completely restrain the power of darkness. A faint smile appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. She had always been filled with curiosity towards things that she had never seen before. Similarly, she also wanted to research a medicine that could completely restrain the power of darkness. This had always been her hobby, and it was because of this that her medical skills were so outstanding. In her previous life, the elders in the family only allowed her to learn medicine after knowing that she was full of competitiveness towards the uncured poison. Facts had proven that with such a mentality, the progress of her medical skills was indeed extremely fast. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Bewitching stroked Bailey Hongzhuang's hair affectionately. I know you haven't let go of this matter. If you were strong enough at that time, you would have gone there to investigate. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly, a bright light flashing in her eyes. She smiled tenderly and said, Bewitching, you know me best. Of course. Bewitching showed a proud look. No matter what you want to do, I will accompany you. Let's ask Xiren and the others later. If they are interested, we can go together. All right. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled gently. That's right, my wife. Didn't a new door open in the Chaos Ring? What's inside? Why haven't I heard you mention it before? Bewitching looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with some astonishment. Usually, every time a new door opened in the Chaos Ring, there would be something that would be very helpful to it. Chapter 3905. Indeed, a new stone chamber has appeared. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. I only saw a secret manual in there. There were some obscure things written on it. Until now, I still don't understand what it's used for. At this point, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but frown. Her expression was filled with helplessness and confusion. When she first heard that a new stone chamber had appeared, she was extremely happy. However, when she realized that she didn't understand what was written on the secret manual, she felt very helpless. You don't understand? Bewitching was a little surprised. With Bailey Hongzhuang's intelligence, there were very few things that she couldn't understand. That's right. I just don't understand. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed. However, I vaguely feel that these things are somewhat familiar. They should be of some use to me. It's just that I haven't discovered it yet. The things in the Chaos Ring must be related to you. Although I don't understand it now, I believe that if you study it more, you'll eventually discover its use. Bewitching held Bailey Hongzhuang's small hand. His brows were full of trust. This Chaos Ring has recognized you as its master. The things inside are tailor-made for you. There must be a reason for its appearance. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and nodded. I think so too. That's why I've been studying it these past few days. Although I haven't made any progress yet, I believe that I'll definitely understand it in the future. Vaguely, she felt that this secret manual should be of some help to her in increasing her strength. Moreover, the help was not small. However, she still hadn't figured out how to use it. This was because the contents written on it were too obscure and difficult to understand. Until now, she still hadn't fully understood the contents of this secret manual. Master, you're so smart, but you still can't understand the contents of this secret manual. If it were someone else, I'm afraid that they would have to spend even more time. Xiaohei smiled and said, That's right. The Chaos Ring is a divine weapon. The things that appear in it are not simple. Not to mention the secret manual this time. Even the inscription techniques from before weren't easy to learn. It's just that Master is too smart in this aspect. That's why she was able to grasp it so quickly. Xiaobai comforted. Bailey Hongzhuang stroked the heads of the two little fellows. You're really getting better at talking. Master, we're not flattering you this time. What we're saying is the truth. Xiaohei. Baisher was also walking beside Bailey Hongzhuang at this moment. After seeing Little Black and Little White like this, he couldn't help but say, You should work harder and quickly improve your cultivation. Otherwise, with your current strength, you won't be able to help Master in the future. After Bailey Hongzhuang obtained the inheritance of the Demon Training Tower, her strength had increased by several levels. In comparison, the cultivation of the three contracted beasts was much weaker. Baisher's usual speed of improvement was very fast, but now he was still left behind by Bailey Hongzhuang by a large margin. If he wanted to break through to the star boundary, it was obviously not possible to succeed in a short period of time. As for Xiaohei and Xiaobai, their speed was even slower. If this continued, they wouldn't be able to help Bailey Hongzhuang solve the problem. Chapter 3906. Then I'll wait and see. Baisher raised his eyebrows. He didn't care about Xiaohei's provocation at all. Back then, Xiaohei and Xiaobai were stronger than him, but they mocked him for a long time. Now that his strength had surpassed Xiaohei and Xiaobai, he felt very happy. You're so smug. Xiaohei pursed her lips and pouted her face like a steamed bun. Bailey Hongzhuang listened to the three beasties, and a smile appeared on her face. I'm relieved that you guys are working hard on your cultivation. Now that her cultivation had increased, she naturally hoped that Xiaohei, Xiaobai, and Baisher's cultivation could also increase. That way, they would have more protection when they went to the upper realm in the future. From Ao Lingxiao's words, she already knew that the forces in the upper realm were much stronger than where they were currently. Even if they broke through to the Starlight Realm, they would only be at the bottom of the hierarchy in the upper realm. Therefore, if they were stronger, they would have more protection when they went there. Otherwise, before they even reached the D family, there might be some problems. For this kind of thing, Bailey Hongzhuang had never held a fluke mentality. Master, don't worry. We'll definitely work hard on our cultivation, Xiaobai said seriously. At this moment, Beichen's mystic fire demon rock also poked its head out, and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's three contracted beasts with a hint of fear in its eyes. Then, it turned to Beichen and said, Master, I'll also work hard on increasing my cultivation. Beichen rubbed the mystic fire demon rock's little head and smiled. Okay, little Xuanzi, when are you coming back to the Chaos Ring with us? Xiaohei couldn't help but ask after seeing the mystic fire demon rock. Little Xuanzi was the name they gave the mystic fire demon rock. Although the mystic fire demon rock was very dissatisfied with this name, and had resisted many times, the three beasties still gave it this name. It couldn't be helped. The mystic fire demon rock's cultivation was weaker than theirs, so it could only be bullied by them. Not only that, because the three beasties were stronger, they already regarded themselves as the boss and bullied the three new contracted beasts to a certain extent. The mystic fire demon rock was dissatisfied with Xiaohei's bullying, so it stuck to D, obviously. It didn't want to return to the Chaos Ring. I'm not going back, the mystic fire demon rock said proudly. How can you not go back? We're helping you to increase your cultivation. That's why we're giving you such pressure, said Xiao. Forget it. I can also improve my cultivation by following my master. In any case, we are all cultivating in the cultivation area. What's the difference? Relying on Beichen, the mystic fire demon rock only had one thought in its mind, and that was to increase its strength as soon as possible. Only then could it change the situation of being bullied. Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang looked at each other with a smile on their lips. In fact, they both knew that the three beasties didn't bully the mystic fire demon rock. It was just that the three little guys had some bad taste and liked to mess with the mystic fire demon rock. However, under the oppression of the three beasties, not only Bewitching's mystic fire demon rock, but Xiren and Shengguan Yingying's contracted beasts also wanted to increase their cultivation. This way, they would be able to make a comeback. Chapter 3907. As Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching slowly made their way to their residence, they saw Wen Xiren chatting with Ren Ziheng and the others outside the door. Seeing Bewitching and Shengguaning return, everyone greeted them. "You're back too. Senior brother Ren, it's good to see you." Bailey Hongzhuang quickly walked over to Ren Ziheng and the others with a joyful smile on her face. Hearing this, Ren Ziheng raised his eyebrows and said, "Junior sister Bailey is looking for us. Is something the matter?" Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Bewitching and I are planning to go to the training grounds to train, so we're planning to form a group. We wanted to ask if you have any plans to go. Sure. Ren Zimei smiled and nodded. We should also go to the training grounds. If we continue to stay in the cultivation area, we won't have enough points. If we don't go to the training grounds to earn some points, we won't be able to continue cultivating. Hongzhuang, are you planning to go? Has your foundation stabilized? Shengguan Yingying asked. There's no problem. It's boring to stay in the cultivation area to cultivate. It's better to go to the training grounds. Xiren, what do you think? Do you want to go together? At this moment, Bewitching suddenly asked. Xiren glanced at Bewitching and smiled. Since you want to go, why shouldn't we go? I knew it. Shengguan Yingying chuckled. Although those skeletons look disgusting, we still have to go and train. Just as everyone was talking, Ren Zimei's voice suddenly attracted everyone's attention. Look, there's another woman looking for junior brother Mo. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but follow Ren Zimei's gaze. Sure enough, a woman stopped in front of Mo Yunjue's door. Again, Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. She didn't ignore the word again that Ren Zimei said. Ren Zimei nodded. Yes, you don't know yet, right? Now junior brother Mo has become the most popular male disciple in Penglai Palace. Oh, Xiren was surprised. I didn't expect that there would be such a thing. Junior brother Mo's appearance is outstanding, coupled with his extremely powerful strength and promising future. He naturally attracts the attention of women. In this entire Penglai Palace, there are very few cultivators who can compare with him. Ren Zimei shrugged her shoulders. She obviously felt that all this was reasonable. Logically speaking, junior brother D and junior brother Wen should also be extremely popular with everyone. However, both of you are already taken, so you are not as attractive as junior brother Mo. I see. When Xiren chuckled. So it seems that Yunju's peach blossoms are blooming in this Penglai Palace. Maybe he will accidentally meet his real peach blossom. That's for the best. Chu Jinfeng chuckled. The number of outstanding female disciples in the Penglai Palace is not small. If he can really find his other half, that would be a good story. However, in my opinion, this junior apprentice brother Mo's temperament is a bit too cold. In the past few days, there have been many women who have tried to get close to him, but they were all mercilessly rejected by junior brother Mo. Chapter 3908. The woman who is looking for junior brother Mo is a very famous person in the inner palace of Penglai. Her name is Su Yingxue, and there are many men who chase after her. Ren Zimei's eyes shone with excitement. However, her standards are also very high. Ordinary men can't enter her eyes. I didn't expect her to take the initiative to look for junior brother Mo. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it. Looking at Ren Zimei's gossipy appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but find it funny. It's not strange for her to take the initiative when she meets the man she likes. Ren Zimei shook her head. She usually has an extremely arrogant look on her face. So many men have tried to woo her, but she doesn't care about them at all. She can't even be bothered to talk to them. now that she has taken the initiative to look for junior brother Mo. Isn't this considered as unprecedented news? If this news gets out, I'm afraid it will cause a commotion. Forget it. It's better not to spread this news. Xiren waved his hand. Otherwise, won't Yunjue become the target of public criticism? That's true. Ren Ziheng chuckled. However, even if this news doesn't spread, junior brother Mo has already become a thorn in the side of many male disciples. It seems that being too charming is also a mistake. Shangguan Yingying sighed. The next day, Bailey Hongzhuang and the group set off for the training ground. After Mo Yunjue and Ao Lingxiao learned of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' plans, they also proposed to go together. As a result, their team became 9 people. Although this kind of team wasn't considered a lot during the training, it was still quite a lot. Mo Yunjue was very curious about the skeletons that everyone was talking about. After all, he had never heard of such creatures before. Is the skeleton army really as scary as you say? Mo Yunjue asked slowly. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. The skeleton army's number is indeed very scary. They attack by surrounding you. Therefore, once you are surrounded, it won't be easy to escape. However, we were only at the 5th level of the Purple Realm when we went there, so it would be more difficult for us to deal with it. But with our current situation, it should be much easier to deal with it. If it weren't for Hongzhuang's zither technique, I'm afraid we would have died there. Xiren sighed. Hearing the conversation between Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest, Ren Ziheng could not help but turn around and say, "Last time, you were only at the outer part of the training ground. The deeper you go into the training ground, the more terrifying the skeleton's strength is. Now that you've all broken through to the Astral Radiance realm, you naturally won't continue to stay in the outer regions. Once you enter deeper, you still have to be careful everywhere, because the strength of those skeletons is also extremely abnormal. Moreover, the number of liches will also increase greatly, and the frequency of skeletal soldiers appearing will be even higher. You definitely can't underestimate them. Are there a lot of skeleton soldiers?" Shangguan Yingying's eyes sparkled with curiosity. Last time, they had also seen skeleton soldiers in the skeleton army. Obviously, the skeleton soldiers were much stronger than the ordinary skeletons. However, there were very few of them at that time, so it didn't cause too much of an impact. Chapter 3909. A team composed entirely of skeleton soldiers? Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but exclaim, "How terrifying is their combat power?" It is precisely because of this that in that battle, it is said that the team was almost completely wiped out. Ren Ziheng sighed. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Ao Lingxiao thoughtfully. According to Ao Lingxiao, the passage to the upper world was in the depths of this training ground. It seemed that if one wanted to go to the upper world, one needed to be extremely strong. Otherwise, one couldn't even reach the passage. Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but look at each other. Obviously, both of them had thought of the same problem. If they had the chance, they also wanted to see where the entrance to the upper world was. By the way, I have one more thing to remind you, Ren Ziheng suddenly said. What's the matter? In fact, this training ground is not only for the cultivators of our Penglai Palace. The other forces are also heading to the same place. It's just that everyone is in different passages. The closer you are to the center of the training ground, the greater the possibility of encountering other forces. Once you encounter them, you have to pay more attention. There is a certain amount of competition between the major forces. If there is a disagreement, it is possible to fight. So, it is best to be more vigilant against the cultivators of other forces. Ren Ziheng's gaze couldn't help but fall on Bailey Hongzhuang. Junior sister Bailey, you are now famous in Penglai Palace. Many forces have already noticed your existence. If you are recognized by the cultivators of other forces, they may use some special methods to deal with you. So, you must be more careful. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. A serious and dignified look appeared between her eyebrows. Senior brother Ren, thank you for your reminder. I will be careful. We are a team. When the time comes, we will inevitably act together. I will also pay more attention. Ren Ziheng smiled and said. Bailey Hongzhuang was now in high demand. In addition, she had a huge sum of money. Many people were envious. Not to mention the cultivators of other forces. Even the cultivators of Penglai Palace had some thoughts about her. However, due to her strength being too strong, there was no benefit in offending her. So everyone forcibly suppressed this idea. The outside forces were different. They were not afraid of offending Master Long at all. As long as there were benefits, they were willing to do anything. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others entered the training grounds through the teleportation array. This time, compared to the last time they were here, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others felt completely different. He was no longer as nervous and perturbed as before. Instead, he walked very calmly. There won't be any skeletons during the day, so we can rest assured. Let's go deeper into the forest when the sun rises. Run Zime said slowly. With your current cultivation, staying in the outer perimeter is of no use to you. Although we've been here before, we don't know much about this place. Senior Sister Run will follow you. We'll stay wherever you think is suitable. The ink-black letters flickered with a peaceful light, and the gentle and light voice was full of trust. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.